Hey guys, so pumped that you're here. And we're in the middle of this series that's called It's Just A Lot. And the stuff that can sometimes feel like a lot, like stress and worry. And we're finding ways that we can look for God every day when we're overwhelmed by stress and worry. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by stress and worry? Like it's this massive weight pushing down on you. It's definitely not fun. And honestly, I'm sure that we've all felt some sort of stress and worry in our lives. Do you know why? Because we're human. We're not AI devices like Alexa or Siri that sometimes we can maybe talk to so much that we begin to think that they're human. They're not. They can't feel stress and worry, but we're human and so we can. So that got me thinking. I have like multiple Alexas in my house. I got a bunch of devices with Siri, a Google Home, and they're great. They can give you a lot of answers. They can tell you about the weather, the news, maybe even tell you a joke or two, but they can't really do anything physically. Alexa, Siri, and Google Home, they might be great for some things, but when it comes to worry and stress, humans are a lot more helpful. A few years ago, we were in the middle of this huge rainstorm, and I mean like it was raining and raining and raining. Like, you know the whole Noah's Ark thing? Okay, well, not that much, but it was a lot of rain. And in the house that we owned at the time, we had a basement apartment where somebody actually lived. And I got this call in the middle of the rainstorm, a call that you never really want to get as a homeowner, and especially not a homeowner where someone is living in your basement. And she said, hey, so there's just a whole bunch of water like pouring in my door from the outside. It's like all over the living room floor, into the kitchen, and yeah, it's like everywhere. So immediately, right, I rushed downstairs, I grabbed my shop vac, buckets, towels, anything else that would be helpful, and I just start trying to get the water inside, back outside. And I was working at it for a while, didn't really seem to be getting anywhere until something happened. Alexa showed up and said, Danny, I have an idea. No, I'm just kidding, right? I had a bunch of friends, human friends, who actually showed up to help me. And I was so thankful because I was literally in the middle of stress and worry and trying to figure out what to do. And here come my friends. Can you think of a time where maybe you felt stressed and worried? Maybe it's not water rushing into your basement, but maybe it's showing up in a new school. Maybe it was coming to Collide for the first time. Maybe it was a big test, or maybe it was finding out that someone you love is really sick. We've all experienced being overwhelmed and stressed with things in our lives. That's part of life. It's part of living in a broken world. But here's the thing, during those times, God can actually help when you're facing worry and stress. God actually wants to help. How? I'm so glad you asked. So there's an example in Jesus' life about a time when he was going through a lot, and he was actually worried about his mom, Mary. And here's what happened. Jesus had just been put through this unfair trial. He was found guilty, even though he never did anything wrong, and he was put on a cross and he was crucified. And Jesus knew that he was going to die. And so he wanted to make sure that someone would care for his mom when he was gone. And so check it out. It says this in John chapter 19, verse 25. It says, standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, dear woman, here is your son. And he said to this disciple, here is your mother. And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. So imagine for a second what life was about to be like for Jesus' mom after he died. In this moment, Jesus was going through a lot and was concerned about who would care for his mom when he wasn't there anymore. And so what did Jesus do when he felt stressed and worried about it? He turned to John, one of his closest friends, for help. And he asked his friend to take care of his mom. I actually think we can learn from what Jesus did. Just like Jesus' friend helped him when he was worried, God can use others in your life to help you when you're worried. God's given you people in your lives who can walk with you. They can help you in those moments of stress and worry. And so how do you handle stress and worry that tends to show up in your life? Well, here's 3 things that you can try. 1, you can turn to God for help. We talked about that last week, that you can trust God with a lot, and he actually wants to help. Secondly, you can turn to others for help. God can use your friends, your family, your small group leaders, coaches, and other people in your lives to help you. And the third thing is that you can look for ways to actually help other people. Another follower of Jesus, a guy named Paul, wrote a letter to people who followed Jesus in the early church, and he actually said this. He said, share each other's burdens, and in this way, obey the law of Christ. So something that can actually help our stress and worry is by waking up each day and looking for ways to say, yes, Jesus, I want to help. Remember Jesus' friend who said yes to helping care for Jesus' mom? Well, what if this week we look for ways to help others? What if we just say, okay, Jesus, I'm willing to help. Following Jesus reminds us that God can use others to help when you're worried. Your small group can be those people too. You see, each week you get the chance to talk through stuff like this with people who not only want to help you, but they understand what it feels like to have things going on every day that you need help with. Maybe opening up, maybe that's a great first step for God to use others to help when you're worried and stressed. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to think about this question. Who is someone in your life that God has used to help you when you were stressed and worried? I love you guys. We'll see you next time.